Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games, the Week in Games. We're heading into the middle of August, almost time for back to school, which should make every child oh so pleasantly filled with joy. We did have a lot of interesting things going on in August, none of which matter for board gaming, but we did have the end of Gen Con, which we'll have more after that. Why don't we just chalk right to it and get to the news? All right, Gen Con has come and gone. There are murmurings of various titles galore, but a few caught my eye, and others were ones that I put in my list to ponder. One of the big ones was Crusader Kings. As a PC game aficionado, Crusader Kings is definitely on my list of tremendously like aspiring games, just deep and rich like historical. Oh my gosh, Crusader Kings! If you haven't had a chance to try it, give it a shot. But mind you, it is deep, and it is not bang bang you're dead kind of thing. The board game looks to simplify that greatly, which isn't surprising, given that other games, Fallout and other games, they do tend to simplify and distill for obvious reasons, because you don't want to spend 25 hours on the first part of a game. In other news, Arkham Horror Final Hour. Now, I haven't jumped on the Arkham Horror yet. It's in my wish list now that it's been recommended as something that's pretty cool for less player counts than I expected. But I am curious from others who are into Arkham Horror what they think of this Final Hour, and if it's a side note or if it really is pretty cool. And finally, this might be the first time ever that I'm excited for a PC game and a board game at exactly the same time, even though they won't quite release on time, and that is Cyberpunk 2077, which is heading to our computers, and also early next year, hopefully, heading to our board gaming tables. How that maps out, I don't know, but looking at both and being such a sucker for board games based on computer games that I am, it looks like it's going to be up my alley. We'll see. And with that, let's get to my question of the week. So this question of the week came from someone a friend of mine who, I think he used the term critical mass. He'd hit critical mass feeling like he couldn't keep up with buying board games like he used to. This is not a bad problem to have. But it did kind of talk about a little bit about, and this might ruffle some feathers, everyone has an opinion on it, it's all good, it's all opinion, is have we saturated the board game market to a degree that we're going to pay for later? I don't know. It does have inklings of the days back when uh, back in my day, when we made video games, working 80 hours and stuff. But there is a sort of a parallel when you can get into a saturation that gets so big that you find yourself spending more time trying to get noticed than trying to make something cool, or at least be tempted to fall into that trap. And I don't know. I mean, for the small amount of time I was an app developer, really early on, there were opportunities that presented themselves because there wasn't just this wealth of just vast panorama of horizon of games to have to compete with. And in fact, those who stuck with app development, some of my app dev friends have said that they spend more of their budget just on advertising than making the game, that the emphasis is on advertising because you have to get noticed in this big, vast world. Will we find that with board games? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's a different kind of world than it was back in the early 2000s when I first picked up. I mean, in that time, you were looking for sort of like mega buster hits, like, hey, come this fall, board game is going to be out. Now it's like, okay, what came out today? And I think there is going to be an impact. I don't know, though. On one hand, big games, bring big costs, but they also bring big presence and a larger audience. I mean, it's never been easier to get direct attention to an audience. You don't have to go through any funnels. You can kickstart anything. Whether you can successfully do that is another story, but I don't know. Will we see a bubble burst? Will we see a point in time when we just kind of see it all bloom, boom? I don't know. I don't think so, or if I do, I don't think it's going to be a catastrophic degree, but I could be talked out of that. On the other hand, will we see a consolidation into large companies and small companies get sidelined, or into the cage where you have to make certain games of this style because they're popular, but if you try something a little different, you pay? I don't know. I still think we're flexible enough in the board gaming industry to be able to absorb that, but it remains to be seen. I mean, it's sort of, I remind myself when I was doing video games many, many years ago, is that I always felt like I had a pioneer spirit. I was up for the crazy, wacky, gutsy, burn the midnight oil to get crazy stuff out. And there was a time and place when that kind of thing was just almost hallowed and revered. As time goes on, though, in the startup mentality, you're on this sort of high wire tightrope, this sort of adventure into the unknown. We're trying something new. It could fail miserably. It could succeed amazingly. Then the thing about pioneers is that they're followed by settlers, and settlers are kind of the mindset, or the people that come along and go, okay, we've settled down, we've got familiarity, now let's just keep doing something year in and year out that succeeds. And there's a place for that too. Pioneers just keep wanting to go into the forest and try something new. Settlers, they like the familiar. There's nothing wrong with that. They like kind of the safety and building up, better things. This is a strange analogy, and it's going way away from board games, other than the fact that I think that we are past the pioneer spirit age of board gaming, or into sort of the settlers. Wow, how ironic is that? The point when people are settling, city building, and sort of building out an infrastructure to maximize the presence of games. And I don't know, that's usually the time when I sort of jump off and go look for other ways to be a pioneer. But I don't think we're at that point yet, and I don't think I have anything to worry about, because I can always just go play a board game if my mind is at unrest, right? Anyway, that was a long-winded version of saying, yeah, I think we have a lot of games coming out. Even I can't keep up with them anymore. So, hey, if someone else can, rock on. But I do hope that innovation and experimentation don't really get driven to the side for large-scale, samey board games. And that is something that I have seen happen in other industries that I hope doesn't here. With that, let's get to my 3 games. Okay, game number 1, Samurai Gardener, a game for 2 to 5 players. You are overlapping cards on top of other cards to try to create a best garden. It's a strange thing. Is it Tokaido? No. Is it Takenoko? No. What is it? I don't know yet, because I have just not gotten the motivation to try it yet. But it's got a samurai in it, and he's a gardener, and I would hate to see what a samurai could do to a panda if he was so inclined to want to keep them out of the garden. But hey, I may give this a shot. It looks like an interesting filler, just enough. Then, Underwater Cities. This just arrived, and this is something that's been on my list because I played this designer's original game, Pulsar 2849, and I went, wow, I don't get it. And I didn't really understand it, but I have it anyway. So naturally, when he comes up with another game, of course I have to get this one too. Although this looks like it has a more facilitative low player count mode, and it also, the premise is pretty cool to me too. You are building underwater city development. Who wouldn't want to do that? And finally, Teotihuacan. I don't think I pronounced that right. The late classic period expansion for the original Teotihuacan. Now, those of you who saw my original Teotihuacan review might be wondering, why did I buy this expansion? Well, there's 2 reasons for that. One is, haha, I didn't make a review of Teotihuacan. You've been fooled. And 2, I didn't make a review of it because I wanted to play it a few more times, because it is deep and engrossing. And at the same time I got Teotihuacan, I also got Coimbra, which I found utterly cool, and did a review on that instead. This one adds a bunch of different modular expansions. I don't actually like modular expansions very much. I'm like, give me the expansion with the best gameplay. Don't make me mix and match, because I don't like mixing and matching. But for some reason, I was compelled to try at least 2 of these. The ability to have custom cards with like different abilities per player. Why not? Who doesn't want that? And finally, let's get to Alphabet Soup. Okay, Alphabet Soup. Last time we did the A's. Now we're going to do the B's, the B roll. So here are the games that fit these custom created categories in my collection that all start with the letter B. Okay, the top of the line game that starts with a B in my collection, and it beats out games like Baseball Highlights and Battle Lore, has got to be Battle of the 5 Armies. I love War of the Ring. It is the pinnacle of board gaming for me that meshes theme and grand scale epic drama. Battle of the Five Armies, I wasn't sure about because it actually came in with a much more like drill down microscopic view of a simple battle, but it managed to do exactly what it should have, to take all that grand scale War of the Ring, turn it into Battle of Five Armies, and make it really cool. Like, it is top of the line. Now, bottom of the barrel has to be Blackbeard. Man, I bought that game twice because I was positive that it's from Richard Berg that this game would be great, and it just bit. I could not get enthused. I couldn't get anybody enthused about it. I hope some people out there like it, but a game like that seemed from the manual as I was reading, like the original, it had been reprinted, things went awry, shillings were lost, bad stuff, but Richard Berg, rest in peace, has done a lot of great stuff. This did not hit the sweet spot. This hit the sour spot. And a game that came out of nowhere that just shocked the heck out of me was Barony. Now, this is the guy that did Splendor, who did Barony, which is probably a simple area control game that has a couple that simplifies it to the point it seems like it would be stupid. It's not. It actually was really clever. That one just blew me away. Riches to Rags has to be Bear Valley. Loved innovation. Love that game. I loved pretty much any game that comes from the company that did it. But Bear Valley was just this esoteric mess that had this crazy fun premise that just blew. Anyway, the Meaty Mighty Manwich game, the game that's got the most just substance that I have, is probably Bora Bora, another Steffenfeld point gathering game with a nice Hawaiian theme to it, or not Hawaii directly, but Bora Bora. But yeah, no, that was a good one. The Test of Time comeback, the one that I play the most of, has to be Baseball Highlights 2045. That one just plays and plays, single player, two player, tournaments, whatever. It is the sweet spot. It really was close, just because of how amazingly good it was to be in the top of the line. But Battle of the Five Armies just can't be topped. Comeback Tour, a game I think should be reprinted or should have more added to it. It's got to be Burgle Brothers. Burgle Brothers is crazy good single player, crazy good 2, 3, 4 player. It really feels like you're trying to pull off a heist. It's got a ton of stuff in a tiny, tiny living space, and it could definitely use being updated because I think there's room to grow with it. So, and honorable mentions, games that I think deserve a place. Bang the Dice game always gets played. Whenever I'm introducing people, Bang the Dice game is one of the fastest ways to get people interested in something that's a little beyond standard Monopoly type mechanics. I don't remember the last time I had a group of casual people over that wanted to kind of like see what board gaming was about that I didn't throw this on, because you can play it quick, everyone gets involved, everyone's having a good time, it's just the right. And the other thing is Balloon Cup. Balloon Cup was one of the very first games that convinced my wife to join board gaming or to be involved with board gaming. It still has a special place in my heart. The designer, nothing but kudos for him. And they've done reprints of it since then, but nothing's like Balloon Cup. Yeah, it's not perfect. It wasn't a perfect game, but man, it was that trigger. It was that spark. It was that match. It was that flame. I'm clearly getting into pyromania here. Anyway, that's my weekend games. I rambled a little bit. I'll try and cut that down next time. But I do appreciate everyone. I appreciate all the comments I get, good, bad. You guys have been strangely nice and about stuff. Even your criticism have been so polite, and I appreciate it. I know this is low budget. I know this is homespun, homebrew kind of stuff, but I appreciate you all, and I'm looking forward to a fall filled with awesome gaming. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.